Hey guys and gals, I'm really excited. I just got this in Amazon today. I'll add a link to the description page, but it's a USB charge socket that I'm going to add onto my middle row in order for my kids to charge their Nintendo Switch and other stuff that requires a USB port. So let's go ahead and open this. Okay, it's going to come with all of this stuff in here. Pretty cool stuff. And I think it's going to be a pretty easy install too, guys. So here's the label right there. Of course, it's made in China, but don't let that scare you from buying it. It's pretty cheap. The reason why I bought this one, because it has an open window that tells you the voltage, right? I made sure this was a quick charge, 3.0 QC, and there's a power button right here. It's good to have a power button. You don't want this to continuously run all day and all night. If you're not using it, it's going to drain your battery slowly. So it's got a power button to turn off the USB charger. Okay, you got two ports. Okay, and once I hook this up, it's going to be a blue LED display on the voltage that's running through here. Okay, so it comes with the lid like this, so you can lock the lid so no dirt and grimes or dust gets in here if you're not using it. And it's going to look like this. It's threaded in the back, has a port for power and ground, it even tells you power and ground. It comes with the wire, right? So for you to tie into your power and ground, we're going to tie into the front USB ports instead of going all the way to the battery, which is ridiculous. And the good thing about this is it's fused. Okay, it's fused for you. It's got two female connectors. Okay, one goes to power, one goes to ground, just like that. One goes to power, one goes to ground, just like that. And the other end goes to your other USB port that's part of Lexus. That's what I'm going to be doing. So I'm going to chop this off at this end, and I'll show you a little later. So let's go ahead and disconnect this really quick. Okay. And how it's going to go into the car is I'm probably going to cut a hole into one of my plastic panels, and I'm going to slip this through. Actually, I'm going to slip this through the base plate right here. So slip it through the base plate, and then it's going to go inside the plastic panel of the Lexus. And on the other end, I'm going to use this as a backing to screw it in to hold it in place. Okay, so that's going to hold this centerpiece in place. What's going to hold this base plate in place is a couple of screws right here. You can go ahead and use these screws and screw into your plastic. You just have to be really careful not to screw into any electrical components or your air conditioning vents that's in the back somewhere here. You don't want to screw into anything that's into your car, so just be careful. So you could use these screws, or you could use, I don't know, a screw and a nut, okay, if you're more comfortable with that. I'm pretty sure over time these will become loose. So if you want to use a bolt and a nut, that's fine too. So let's go ahead, and I want to show you exactly where I'm going to put this into the car and the location of it. Now if you take a look at my middle row, here's my center console. Most of you guys have a AC control unit back here, the ones that have a higher model. I have the base model, so I don't have that luxury. But don't let it scare you from including or adding a USB port back here, because you got plenty of space back here. I'm not going to install it anywhere in the middle, because that's where my air vents are going leading up to here. I have plenty of space on the sides right here, but there's wires on this side, so I'm most likely going to put it somewhere here and center it. Okay, I'm going to show you how to remove this, but I'm just showing you exactly the area where I'm going to add my USB ports. Okay. So first things first, we're going to have to remove the center console again. I do have a video on that. If you guys want to check that one out, I'm pretty sure you guys by now already know how to remove this, but I'm just going to go ahead and include this into the video. Okay, we're going to remove the shift knob. Okay, this piece right here, you just snap it down, disconnect it from your shift knob, turn it counterclockwise until it comes out. All right, once it comes out, just leave it on top of your dash somewhere. Okay. Next step, you want to take off your leather trims right here. And how you do that is you're going to take your plastic scraper and you're going to put in between your center console and your leather and just snap it on out. Okay, all snappable clips, and it comes right out. There you go. I'm going to go ahead and put it on top of my dashboard, get it out of the way. Same thing with the other side. Put it in between. I'm going to show you right now, right there. Put it in between, just like that, okay? Once you put it in between, you're going to mosey along to all the edges, all the way up here, and you're just going to snap it out. It's all snaps. All snaps. See that? Lay it on top of your dashboard carefully because it's leather. Okay, next thing's next. You're going to take this, take your plastic scraper, put it in between right here, and snap it up. It comes right up. But just remember, whatever you got tied right here, like your cigarette lighter and plug like that, go ahead and disconnect it. Move it out of the way. Okay. Okay, at this point, you're not going to be able to take this out because your shift knobs, it's in the position that it is. You're going to have to put this in neutral or reverse or whatever, and that requires you to start your car. Okay, so right at this point, I'm going to go ahead and remove my cup holder by lifting up my center console and snap up my cup holder just like this. You guys can take a look. Once I snap up my cup holder, the whole thing comes out, and there is one plug right behind here. Go ahead and disconnect that one plug. Okay, let's remove your cup holder. Let's set your cup holder on the floor of the passenger side. Okay, so now you have a clear view of the bottom right here, and this is where you're going to run your wires. You're going to run your wires along here somewhere, right? You're going to find out a good place to run your wires where it's not going to hit your shifting or linkages or anything like that. But for you to be able to tap into your front USB, because I'm going to tap either my cigarette lighter plug or my front USB ports, most likely my cigarette lighter plug, I'm going to tap into those two wires. I'm going to need access to get in there, and for me to get there, I'm going to have to move the shift knob back in order to take this off, okay? Let's go ahead and step on the brakes and start your car. Once I start my car, I can go ahead, make sure your e-brakes are on, step on your e-brakes. You don't want your car going anywhere. Go ahead and put it all the way down in neutral, and you can lift up and pull back, lift up and get this out of the way. Once you got this out of the way, you can go ahead and you don't have to disconnect anything, guys. You already know where all the wires are right here. I already see my cigarette lighter plug wire right here. It's a yellow wire and a khaki color wire. The next step I want to do is I want to go ahead and measure the length from here to all the way to the back of my center console. But I have to remember where my wires are going to be routed. It's not going to go straight directly to my center console. It's going to go through some hoops. So I'm going to route it down underneath this bracket, and along the side right here. So I got to make sure and take the length of this into consideration when I run my wires all the way to the back. So let's go ahead and measure it, and I'm going to give it a lot of slack. So this looks about maybe 2 feet of wire. I'm back at my work stand, and I went ahead and got a roll of speaker wire and cut about 2 feet in length. Okay, so good thing about speaker wires, they're different colors, so you can denote one as positive and one as ground. So I chose the one that's closest to the color red as my positive and one as my ground. Okay, so the way I'm going to connect these to my front USB my front cigarette lighter port is I'm going to T-tap them into the wires. I'm not going to cut the wires on the car. I'm going to leave it OEM. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to T-tap them in. So I'm going to go ahead and cut my wires, take the shielding off, just like this. Wind it up so it fits inside my connectors, and what I have are male connectors. And the reason why these are male connectors is because it's an insert, okay? And it has a protective cover around here, so you don't have any other grounding wires that's going to touch this, or any power that's going to touch this. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put this in there just like this, and I'm going to go ahead and crimp it just like that. I'm going to do it to the ground wire also. And crimp it. there you go. I can tap these into my cigarette lighter wires without having to cut my cigarette lighter wires with the use of a T-tap. And these are T-taps right here. These are made by 3M. What they do is they close up and clamp onto your wire right there. They clamp onto your wire, and your male connector just plugs into there just like that, so it makes contact. Okay, so let's go ahead and go back to the car. Okay, we're back at my car. Here is my shift knob, just so you need a reference, and here is the cigarette lighter plug. For me to distinguish which one is power, which one is ground, I got my trusty test light right here. It's going to show red as positive and green as ground. So I'm going to go ahead and touch the yellow wire, and it shows red. I'm going to go ahead and touch the wire, and it's lighting up green. Okay, so yellow is positive. So now I know yellow is positive. I'm going to go ahead and tap the copper side of my speaker wire to yellow and the gray wire to negative. Okay, for me to test these out, I had to start my ignition. That's the only way these would work. Okay, so for me to T-tap these in here, I'm going to have to cut a little shield of this wire and pull it back a little, just so the wires would show and it would make good contact. I got my pair of wire strippers right here. I'm going to go ahead, take the yellow. I'm not going to cut all the way through. I'm just going to cut enough just to get to the center wire, and just peel back some of the shielding just like that. Okay, so if you look closer, you're going to see what I'm talking about. See how I took some of the shielding, I moved it back, and some of the wires inside is going to show. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my T-tap, this portion right here, and I'm going to fit it over that opening just so it gets some contact. Then I'm going to close it up, and for me to help myself close it up, because I can't do it by hand, I'm going to take a pair of pliers and clamp it on. Once I clamp it on, it's on. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing for the ground wire. I'm going to go ahead and pull back some of the shielding. Do not cut all the way through. Okay, take my T-tap connector right here, put it on there, and then clamp onto the T-tap, and there you go. Okay, so now I'm going to take my speaker wire. Okay, I'm going to take my speaker wire and I'm going to hook it up. I'm going to tap into there. I'm going to take my copper wire and tap it to positive. So the male is going to go into the female. Okay, and I'm going to take this male and go into the ground. So male go into the female again. Unless you're from California, then male goes into male. Freaking weirdos. Okay, there you go. Okay, so now you got your speaker wires all hooked up and you're good to go. Don't worry, there's no live wires on here because I turned off my ignition. Okay, so both wires right now are constant ground. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find a routing, and the routing is going to be underneath here, just like this. I want my wires to route where there are no moving parts in this center console, because you never know when a moving part's going to drag your wire and start to strip it, and then your car catches on fire. You never know. Things like that do happen. Okay, so at this point right here, you're going to have a slot that goes all the way to the back of this center console. Okay, but for me to reach this wire from the back, I'm going to have to open up the back of the center console just so I can get some visibility. So let's go ahead and just shove this wire in there anyways. Once I shove it in there as far as I could go, I can do a reach around when I get to the middle rows and look for it. Okay, so there it is. I don't want to close anything up yet, guys. I want to leave everything open, and I want to do a final test just to make sure everything works. Okay, so let's go ahead and go to the middle row, and let me show you how to remove this. Alright guys, we're in the middle row right now, and we're going to have to pry this loose. This is this does not come together with the entire center console. Okay, you can actually take off just this faceplate, and that's the best thing about this car. It comes off pretty easily. I wouldn't recommend you stick it in here and prying, because you're going to ruin your leather. What you can do is open up your center console here. Oh. If you open up your center console and you look down, you're going to have spaces right here where you could stick in your plastic panel and pry. Okay, stick in your plastic panel and pry just like that. Once you pry and these corners do come loose, okay, you can go back over here. You can go back over here and pull on it, and the whole thing just comes right off. Okay, so let's take a look at this right now. On my base model, I have a center vent that's going to lie up against this back panel right here. So I'm not going to be able to drill anywhere that's going to have this type of diameter right there. So what I do have working for me is this big open empty space. I don't have it on this side because I have a whole bunch of wiring on this side, and I don't want this type of working environment, because it's just going to be in the way, right? So we're going to work right here, and we're going to measure exactly where on this back panel where my USB port should go without hitting this, right? Without hitting this, and make sure it has enough depth to be able to install in here. Okay. So I took a sticker and I marked exactly which section my USB port would actually be fitting. Okay, so I did actually do a measurement right here. I did a depth measurement to make sure that wherever I'm going to stick this, it's going to fit. And this was a perfect square right here. So I put a little sticker to denote where I'm going to drill. Okay, so let's go ahead and unplug. There's two wires right here. There's a black plug right here, and there's a bottom plug right here. Comes right off, and the whole entire thing just comes right out. Okay. So I measured the hole, and I'm using a 1 1/4 hole cutter. It's got a drill bit in the middle in order for me to center the hole. The way that I measured it was I pretty much took my USB port and I slipped this over it, and it was a perfect fit. So this should slide right on. I'm going to go ahead and take the marking of where I marked it, and I'm going to center it, and I'm going to drill right there. Okay. After I punch the hole through, I'm going to go ahead and deburr the edges. See, the edges still got a little fray right there. I'm going to go ahead and grab a razor blade and just work around there until I can get all the fray out and make sure it's all smooth. Okay, after I'm done with that, I'm going to go ahead and flip this over, and I'm going to take my USB port and I'm going to put it over the base plate, and I'm going to line this exactly on how I'm going to want it to face. It's got to be a perfect 90 degrees from this hole to that right there. Okay, so I'm going to line it up, and I'm going to put it through my panels, and on the other side I'm going to flip it over. On the other side, I'm going to go ahead and screw the nut on there, this jam nut right here. Make sure you do all this by hand, guys, because this is all plastic. If you use tools to tighten this, you're screwed if you cross thread this, because you can't re-thread these things. It's almost impossible. Okay, so it's going to end up looking like this. I close the cover. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do my due diligence by straightening all this and tightening it some more. Once I get it where I want it, I'm going to go ahead and take my screws right here and screw this in, okay, to hold it into place. I'm not going to drill all the way, guys, because remember, this is plastic. Okay, I'm just going to drill all the way down to the bottom close enough, and then I'm going to drill the rest by hand if possible. Okay, go ahead and start slow. I'm going to stop right there and not go all the way. Remember, it's plastic. The worst thing you want to do with plastic is over tread them. So I'm going to take a screwdriver and I'm going to screw the rest in by hand, not over torquing them. There you go. I'm going to make sure this is centered. Once I'm sure it's centered, I am going to go ahead and tighten the back a little bit some more. Make sure everything's good to go. Remember where positive is, positive and negative. Okay, clean this up a little bit. And remember where your sharp points are, okay, on your screws, because you're going to follow this into the car, okay? Okay, remember the wiring that came with your car. You're going to want to take the female connectors right here, and you're going to want to plug them into the back of your USB ports. So remember where positive was. You're going to take the red and plug it into your positive male with your female, and you're going to take your black one and plug it into your ground, the one with the minus sign on the back of here, okay? And the rest right here, you're going to want to keep the fuse. So right after the fuse, you're going to want to chop them up. Chop this part off right here, because we're going to connect it to the speaker wires that we ran from the center console. Remember that? So what we're going to do right now is we're going to add bud connectors on. These are bud connectors. Bud connectors add two wires together with a metal barrel. There's an aluminum barrel in the middle right there that you squash, and the outer part are plastic shielding. Okay, so let's go ahead and get our wire strippers. We're going to strip our wires here, both positive and negative. Remember what side was positive and negative on the speaker wire? The copper was the positive, and the silver one was the negative. Okay, so we just want to keep that in line. There's other stuff where polarity doesn't matter, but you know, with this one, the USB charger port does mark it, so you want to just follow whatever they have just in case. So let's go ahead and put a bud connector in there, slip the wire over it, make sure the metal is touching the wires on the bud connector. Take your crimper. This is a professional crimper, by the way. Okay, it's heavy duty. It's not one of those cheap wire strippers you see a whole bunch of other people use that have like a whole bunch of different slots for different gauges. Those are for like amateurs. This is actually for mobile electronics. You can actually find this at mobile electronics distributors. This thing right here is like 10 bucks. All right, and it works great. It works great. Really heavy duty, and it makes your life a lot easier. The other crimper sucks. I've tried the other crimper during my heydays, and they don't work as good, and the wire comes loose all the time. But you notice with this, look at that wire, that bud connector ain't going anywhere. So these two ends are going to go to the other end of your speaker wire. Okay, so let's go ahead and take the speaker wire and let's split them. Okay, we're going to split them in two, okay, because they are joined together with plastic right here. We are going to take the shielding off of the ends. Okay, let me show you right here. I'm going to twist them just like this so they don't get frayed all over the place. I'm going to take the positive. Remember the positive? I'm going to put the positive over the copper wire, and I'm going to crimp it just like that. Crimp it one time with the large gauge, and then go to the next gauge and crimp. Okay, that shit ain't going nowhere. Okay, the next one, let's do the ground now. The ground one is going to go to the black wire of the USB. Okay, let's plug that in. Let's go ahead and crimp it. Bam! Let's go to the next set of teeth and crimp it. See this crimper? It's got two sets of teeth. One for big gauge, one for small gauge. I always use both whenever I do any crimping. Okay, these aren't going to go anywhere, but just in the event that they do, and just as a backup, I always like to use electrical tape as backup. Some people use heat shrinks and stuff like that. 3M electrical tape works just as good, guys. With less work, by the way. You don't need a heat gun or any of that. You just wrap this over, and this is not going anywhere. I promise you that. You can jump kick this with your taekwondo or mixed martial arts or whatever gay crap you're into, and this bud connector ain't going anywhere. So let's go ahead and plug it in. Okay, let's plug it in right now, and let's check it out real quick here. Okay, next, after you connect all your wires, you're going to want to plug in your plugs that you left loose. These 2 plugs on the side right here. Go ahead and plug them in. There's a black plug right here at the top. Go ahead and plug them in. Okay, the wires you have down here, I got a zip tie. Zip ties do come in handy. I want these wires to be out of the way when I close up my panel. I want it to have a clean look, and I don't want things all over the place, because you never know when you might snag a wire or get your wires caught in the middle between your plastic panel and your center console, and might catch on fire one day, and then you're going to have to go and get plastic surgery, and then you're going to end up looking like Michael Jackson. Okay, so zip tie, let's cut off a piece of that zip tie. Okay, you got one clunk right there. It's really hard not to miss. If you do crimp into anything, you're going to take your black panel right here, your back panel, not black. I don't know where I got black, sorry. Sorry, that wasn't a racist comment. I have a lot of black friends. Very nice people, by the way. Okay, here it goes. Now let's take a look between here. Okay, so keep an eye on this screw. You don't want it to go into your air vents. Keep an eye on this screw. You don't want it to touch anything else over there. And keep an eye on those screws when they come and pinch your wires, or if these wires are going to pinch between your back. I don't know why I keep saying black. I'm sorry, Michael Jackson. Just remember, don't put your wires out here. You might crimp them up. Okay, so just keep an eye. Just keep an eye when you close it. I'm going to need 2 hands to do this instead of holding my camera to show you. Okay, but I'm going to set it down right now, and you guys can check it out. Okay, so far so good. It looks good. Let's go ahead and start the car and try it out. Okay guys, so that's the finished product. I just turned on my engine and it's lighting up. Let's go take a look. There it is. Okay, and it's got a window right here. You open up the window. It says 14.1. Okay, so there's the voltage right there. So let's go ahead and, I don't know, let's find something to plug this into just to test it out. You know, the digital display works, but it doesn't mean that it's charging. The charging ports work, so let's check it out. Let me go to my neighbor's really quick and see if he's got anything in his garage. He's in his garage right now real quick. Hang on. Yo, Jimbo, let me borrow something. I need a USB charger or something. All right. Thanks, man. All right, good old Jimbo was able to help me find something to charge. I don't know what the hell this thing is. He says it's a Craftsman tool. It's the newest thing for, I don't know, breast cancer awareness. That's why it's pink. Let me see. Let me see if this thing works here. Let's plug it in to one of the ports. Holy crap, there you go. It's charging. Okay, let's go ahead and charge the other port and see if it works. There you go. Oops. It's charging right there. Damn. It's nice and charging, and it says 13.9 once I plugged it in, so I'm good. I took it out and it says 14.1. So we got really good voltage right there. Hope you guys enjoyed this video.